So it's really important that we have these systems in place, that we have our diary in place and we stick with that diary. It doesn't matter that you've got 24/7, 7 days a week, you think to see clients. You haven't, because you still have to do all of the other things in your life. You need to sit down and take that diary and whittle it down and go, yes, this is when I see clients. This is when I will do my research. This is when I will do all of the other stuff to go with business. That's what people don't realize when they're running their own business. There is a lot of background work. You've got your accounts to do. You've got bills to pay. You've got all of the things. You've got money to make. You've got a world to tell that you exist. You've got all of these things to do, and you need those creative vibes to do it. And sometimes we have to designate time to give us those creative vibes. Hello and welcome. Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists, and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to your needs, the needs of the practicing natural therapist. With interviews, herbal discussions, something business and something clinical each week, you'll get the variety you need and enjoy to stay motivated in practice. Hello, and welcome to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite Size Podcast. So today I thought, what shall I talk about? And I thought, well, I have just spent, the morning, my Sunday morning, talking to the South Pacific College of Natural Medicine in Auckland, New Zealand. And we talked about boundaries, we talked about timekeeping, and we talked about the future because they're students. So there was everybody there from first year all the way through to new graduates. And when we think about, all the way through to being a graduate, it takes a long time to graduate. It takes a long time. It's a lot of study, a lot of perseverance, no matter what we choose to do. So if you're not a naturopath or a nutritionist or a herbalist or one of the modalities that tends to hang out with me, then you still studied for something. And what was it? What did you gain internally? What mindset did you gain from that experience? What did you learn from that experience? In a way, not just the paper learning, not just the study, but what were the other things you learned about yourself, about the internal you? And when we think about the internal you, we have to think to ourselves that we tell a story, because we do, don't we? We're always telling a story, and that story is going on in our mind. And when we think about that story and we think about how it goes on in our mind, what we do with that story ultimately. So everything has a story. So it might be that you spent the morning and it took you a long time to get out of bed. And so you've told yourself that you're procrastinating, whereas in actual fact, you just relaxed in bed this morning. It might be that this is now late into the evening and I'm listening to podcasts, I'm procrastinating. No, you're not, you're learning. And we need to change these stories, and we need to think about our day-to-day lives and how we spend our time in the day. How do we work with our clients and ourselves to create the time that we need to get everything done? We need our diaries sorted, don't we? We need to have systems in place, but we also need that mindset. And that's what this conversation is really about. It's about our mindset and what we're telling ourselves all of the time. Because when we see things, we react to it. You hear something, you react to it. It's all about reaction, isn't it? And when we really knuckle down to those reactions, they're not necessarily our senses are our biggest way to react, because they're our biggest learning system. And obviously the two biggest ones are hearing and seeing. So if we have thoughts that are negative to what we see, negative to what we hear, or we keep reiterating these background problems that we've created for ourselves to ourselves, if you keep saying, I procrastinate, then, well, you do. But if you say, I'm using my time differently today or usefully, often when we think I'm procrastinating, I'm avoiding, we're actually doing something. You're not just sitting, staring into space. You are doing something that maybe not as urgent, or something that maybe not requires the intensity of whatever it is you're avoiding. So we need to acknowledge what we're avoiding. We need to think about our mindset and go, how can I change my mindset? How can I think about the story I'm telling myself so that the story is useful to me, so that the story is useful to those around me, so that my story that I am sharing is constructive? And for that, journaling is a great thing to do. I hardly ever journal. And when I was talking to the South Pacific College, I did admit to those students that I have a lot of stationery. I do have a love of stationery. I have a lot of stationery, and I have a lot of texters and all sorts of different writing implements. And I don't necessarily journal as much as I should. I take notes everywhere in multiple color biros or whatever it is. But when I think about something and it's got to me, then speaking out loud is one of my ways of dealing with it. Because when you hear it, when you listen to it, when you hear it come out loud, sometimes we realize how silly those ideas are. So if you can't write it down, because for whatever reason, you haven't got time, you only have your phone with you, it's not the right moment, then think about, well, can I say it out loud? Can I say this issue that I have out loud so that I can hear what it's like? Will saying it out loud reinforce it? So if I say out loud, I'm procrastinating, then I've just reinforced that thing. I've reinforced that way of feeling, that way of being, of whatever it is I'm avoiding. Whereas so if I say first up, rather than, because you can't say it once you've said it, so I'm procrastinating, you then can change the deal, change the format, change the mindset by going, you know what? I'm not procrastinating. My mindset is telling me to avoid this because of reasons X, Y, and Z. How can I deal with X, Y, and Z? X, I'm procrastinating. I'm avoiding doing a live on Facebook. So why am I avoiding it? I don't like to speak. My hair's really bad today. Could you put a hat on? Think about it, say it out loud, then change the narrative, and then give yourself the answer. All right. So I don't want to do a live. My hair is really bad. I could put a hat on, or I could use dry shampoo, or I could brush it. I could put it in a ponytail. Whatever it is. And we give ourselves the result. And sometimes by saying these things out loud, rather than journaling it, if we haven't got the capacity to journal at that moment, we'll actually achieve that end result. We'll actually get where we wanted to go in the first place, doing whatever it was we were avoiding. So it's really important that we have these systems in place, that we have our diary in place, and we stick with that diary. It doesn't matter that you've got 24/7, 7 days a week, you think, to see clients. You haven't, because you still have to do all of the other things in your life. You need to sit down and take that diary and whittle it down and go, yes, this is when I see clients. This is when I will do my research. This is when I will do all of the other stuff to go with business. That's what people don't realize when they're running their own business. There is a lot of background work. You've got your accounts to do. You've got bills to pay. You've got all of the things. You've got money to make. You've got a world to tell that you exist. You've got all of these things to do, and you need those creative vibes to do it. And sometimes we have to designate time to give us those creative vibes. So I often say to people, if you're on Canva creating something, you can probably do that in front of the TV at night when you're not really interested. You could sit there with your computer and create something in the evening while you're, watching TV, doing a bit of Netflix, whatever it is. As long as it's not foreign language and you're trying to read the subtitles, you really will be able to get a few things out and a few things done without feeling it's crushing your soul. And that's the thing with some of the things we do, isn't it? They're not crushing your soul. Using Canva, for me, is not soul crushing. And I think most people agree. But you also, when you use these systems, you have to use them succinctly and quickly. And I've done quite a few talks on using Canva and using the same template over and over. So you can have, if you did 5 with exactly the same background template and you put 5 different quotes on them, and then you put those out every Wednesday, you've got 5 weeks worth of quotes. If you did 5 with a picture of food and maybe a recipe or something about one of the items within it, so you made a porridge or something, and then you talked about blueberries on the post, and then, you know, a photo of that same porridge from a different angle, and you talked about the oats, and so on and so forth, then you've got 5 weeks worth of contents about eating oats with blueberries. You know, so think about how you can do things to save yourself time so that you haven't gone back to that I'm procrastinating, so that that story that we're telling ourselves, we can change it to fit ourselves and our narrative, and the good narrative, the positive narrative, the motivating narrative, the one that we want to be saying to ourselves and the one we want to be hearing. So that was your motivator for today, because I think you can do this. I think you can find that time, create that time, develop that time, and box that time so that you are able to get done what you need to get done in the time available to you and still take a break. That was the other thing I said to them. What do you do at the end of exams, or what do you do at the end of a big assignment? Do you celebrate? And, you know, the people who are in college, they were like, well, we go out, but the ones who are online, you know, how do you celebrate? What is it that you do for you that celebrates you and your achievements? So naturopath and I, we went out the other day and we had a spa day together, and we haven't had one before. It was absolutely brilliant. We both loved it and realized just how much we need that relaxation. And fine, we had to pay for it. People pay to come to see you, but it meant that we got that brain break we needed. We got that rejuvenation that we needed. And we're able to then reconstruct those things in our minds to stop saying the negative stuff out loud and start saying the positive stuff. And that I can do this. I do have the time, and I do have the skill set to organize my time so that I'm relaxing, not procrastinating, so that I am active and doing what needs to be done. I've talked to you about the 2-second rule. If we're done in 2 seconds, get it done. But there is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 as well. I don't know if I've told you that. That is, you have something to do, you need to do it, you know you need to do it, you're putting it off, you can feel yourself putting it off, you've acknowledged to yourself you're putting it off. You then do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am going to do this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sit down now and do it. Okay. So those are just some little tips for today, because I really want the mindset to be really positive and active for you today. I really want you to be able to go, yeah, you know what? This day is going to be a really good day. Or tomorrow is going to be, I don't know what time you're listening to this, so it might be tomorrow is going to be a really good day. And I'd like you to say that out loud. This is a good day, or today is going to be a good day. Hear yourself say it. Feel what that does to the inner you as you say that. So that's been me for today. I hope I've helped, and I hope you have an absolutely brilliant rest of day. See ya. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast for the weekly episodes. If you'd like even more support and learning, then the Academy is for you. Here you'll find part 2 of the herbal discussions, more clinical learning, and case studies to support your clients in practice. Bye for now.